Hi, welcome to Yellow's Talker Show. I'm DV LeBron. Today, my very special guest is the new president of Midlothian ISD School Board, Mr. Gary Vineyard. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, DV. Always good to see you. How you been?
Been good. I love when y'all come on and inform the community, tell them what's going on about the district. So I really appreciate you. And congratulations on your reelection. You ran unopposed because
Yeah,
apparently Gary's that good. So, and now you're president. So I almost don't feel worthy.
yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Um, I'm blessed to be in this position to begin with, to have the voter support, the public support behind me on there. I was kind of debating on whether or not, I might win. You never know. But they came out and voted strong, so I greatly appreciate the support. And of course, I also I'm so appreciative to my board that voted for me unanimously to, lead them moving forward. And so I'm excited to, have the team that we have and get started with them. I'm excited for having Ryan Tim join our team. I think he's going to be a great asset. I'm sorry to lose Eddie Eduardo Gonzalez. He was a great trustee, and we built a great relationship. He's a very good friend, and I look forward to spending time with him outside of what we do with the board now. But for our team moving forward, we're very excited. We have a new slate of officers, basically with me as the board president, Tammy Toby as vice president, and Jessica Ward as secretary for our slate of officers now. So we're excited and start digging in and do what we can to do to make 24-25 a spectacular year.
So, you're coming in when the school has some challenges, and we're going to get into that. But I want to go ahead and kind of cover some of the good stuff before we start digging into the other stuff, the challenges that are facing the district. Can you go ahead and kind of, because there's a lot of new people, there's people who may not know Mr. Gary Vineyard. So, can you kind of give a brief about you?
Sure. Thanks, DB. So, my name, as you said, is Gary Vineyard. I've lived in Midlothian, grew up as a kid there, graduated from Midlothian High School, was in the Panther Regiment and served there. So love being a Panther. That's kind of my roots. My kids went to school through the MISD and graduated through high schools there. So it's been a great time. I've lived in Midlothian since 1978. And so once I graduated from high school and went on to college, got my degree, and then got ready to have a family, was ready to call Midlothian home and raise my kids in the type of environment that I knew Midlothian was. And so they have done the same thing. They're all grown up. They've all got married and have kids of their own now, living their own lives and living pretty much for the most part locally throughout the
Mhm.
DFW Metroplex, and doing that. So I've been a trustee now since 2018, and I've been fortunate to be running. This is my third term to serve, and my second time to serve as board president. So
Yeah.
I'm very blessed to be and honored to be sitting in the roles that I am right now. And my wife and Amy has been my biggest supporter from the start. We've been married 12 years, and
Great lady. Great.
she's my biggest fan. So and we have our brood of kids. We have a Brady bunch of kids. We have 6 kids, and we have 11 grandchildren. So we have a busy time, busy life. Matter of fact, when I get done here, I'm still in my office doing some Saturday work, but leaving from here to go spend some time with my family out on the lake and enjoy the Memorial Day weekend. So big family guy. It's very important to me.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you for wanting. And I told all the candidates, and I told the incumbents, and I told everybody this election cycle. Thank you for wanting to serve your community. I know that this is not the easiest thing, and it takes a lot of time and effort from your family as well as yourself. Thank you for wanting to serve. Um,
Yeah.
right now, one of the best things that happen every year is graduation.
Mhm.
And I saw that you were part of the graduation at Heritage, I believe. You were up on the stage. So tell me about all that and how that went.
That's probably one of the highlights for a trustee throughout the year. being able to stand on the stage and see the accomplishments that these senior classes have made every year, being able to shake their hand and tell them congratulations. And especially, the ones that I know, I don't know as many as I used to. All my kids are grown and out of school, so I don't have as much of a connection with the student base like I used to. But I still know several faces because I'm out in the community, and I'm meeting different people at the different events, the ball games, the fine arts programs, the band shows, and I try to get to as many as I can. And or if I'm out in a fast food restaurant or something like that, I'll meet kids, at there and just drop a conversation because I want to know who these people are. And
Mhm.
it's just a privilege to get to know them on an individual level. But then once I've done that, and then to see them on stage come across, they recognize me, and so it's good to be able to say hi and congratulations to them, and just really be happy for that. The biggest one of their at that time, the biggest moment in their lives is their high school graduation. So to be a part of that, it's a really an honor. So
Yeah.
every graduation is special every time. Um,
Mhm.
but we have a select group of kids that struggle, and have a hard time in school. And so, in years past, kids like that would normally drop out, probably not graduate. Fortunately, we started a program called LEAP several years ago that has produced hundreds of graduates now that probably would not have graduated had we not come up with that program. And so it's a joint program between both high schools that allows those seniors who are struggling in school, or not even seniors, juniors and up, that are struggling in school just for some reason, for whatever reason is going on. They just can't do the standard day-to-day requirements that school is required to do to be able to graduate. And so LEAP was dedicated and built to help those at-risk students to be able to get the education they need and still graduate, and do it that way. So we had several between both high schools graduate this
Um,
year. So it's always a privilege to be a part of that and see the hard work that they do to get through that. We
that
are fortunate that some of those same students did walk the stage. Um, there were two students I want to really point out, that if I remember, I believe they were both at Midlothian High School, who were very nervous about even being part of the graduation on stage, and really had to be talked to almost right up to the minute to come and do it. And but they agreed. They overcame their fear and of that, to be a part of that. And so that's just part of what we have in Midlothian, is part of that. We are families, that we embrace them, we love them, we do whatever we can to celebrate them. And we want this to be the big moment in their life. So I hope that they remember that, and the bravery that it took for them to take those steps across the stage, as scared as they may have been. I celebrate them, and I celebrate every other student that graduated. So it's been a great pleasure.
life lessons all the way to
Yes,
the end. Life
yes,
lessons. That
100%.
that is that is a cool story. Definitely awesome that these kids did above and beyond. One of the things that MISD got into a few years back was doing CTE. And I talked with the superintendent about the CTE programs they're going. What has the board done to support that effort?
CTE is one of those things that was kind of, for me, one of the platforms that I really wanted to discuss more and look more into when I ran in 2018. And so we are doing anything and everything we can to implement as much as we can to bring that to the forefront. Because, like you said, not every kid is cut out for a 4-year, university, or even college for that matter, and they need some type of alternative program. And so that's what CTE does. And our HOSA program, our health sciences program, is producing so many quality people that are ready to hit the ground running, when they graduate high school. And it's just a phenomenal program that we offer, and we want to bring more. We want to do more. Um, and but that comes with what's available for us to do so in our budget. And so right now, I mean, there's no secret that we're having some issues there. But as we get the opportunity to bring more to the district, in that form, then we're going to do so. My ultimate dream for CTE, or is it for to have its complete own center? We have the mile over there, and it's a great starter for us. But the bigger picture for me is that we have our own CTE center that houses all of them. And then if it works the way I expect and I see it, we could see and expect 600 to 800 kids be dedicated strictly to some type of CTE program. And that's kind of my vision at some point in time moving forward, whenever we get the ability to make that happen. But that's an ultimate dream for me.
Oh, that sounds excellent. I mean, that those opportunities are big for kids that are not, not going to go to college, and have this opportunity to, be a CNA or come out of high
Right.
school with a welding certificate. That is a beautiful thing.
Hmm.
They could get work right away. The other thing that's happened since, last time I had you on and stuff is, now we have an ROTC.
Yeah.
Mr. Bolton, Lieutenant Colonel Bolton is running it. Um,
Yeah.
and, and they are running I mean, they started off with some like Nerf guns from Amazon. There was absolutely no budget, and now they're
Yeah. Yeah.
with that they
Yeah.
were kicking butt, and they're starting to come up.
Yeah.
I know that you've supported that program, so can you speak on it?
Yeah. That one's near and dear to my heart. Kind of going back to 2018, when I ran, that was part of my platform. And reason why is because one of the things we've always said is, we believe in CCMR, which is college, career, military readiness. But we weren't really doing anything, in my opinion, to really, promote and really prepare those individuals who want to do that for that level. Other than maybe the ASVAB, which is a standard test that everybody takes into the military, as you know. Thank you for
Mhm.
your service, by the way, with Veterans Day or Memorial Day coming up on Monday. Thank you for your service, and to all of those that have served, active and former. Thank you for what you do for our country. We could not be and be the country we are without you. So I appreciate
I
that and salute you, sir. Um,
Thank you.
well, moving back into the ROTC. So that was kind of part of my what one of my other dreams was, vision was ROTC. What a lot of people don't know is ROTC. You can't just have ROTC in any campus and in any school. It doesn't work that way. It's a dedicated program by the state designating how many classes, how many schools in the state can have that program, and it's primarily sent to underprivileged, undereducated areas to help give those students who are struggling the opportunity and chance to improve their lives. And so that's why it's predominantly found in those impoverished areas. Um, and that was a lesson that I had to learn as a trustee coming into that, because I didn't know about all of that. We had tried to get it and applied for it, and were denied, basically just because we're a great district. We're not underprivileged. We're not undereducated. We've got plenty of money at the time. So their need for this particular program, according to their scale, we were on a very low priority list compared to somebody else, and you would have to qualify to get in. So um, it was something I continued to fight for, something I've continued to believe in and always have believed in. Finally, we got to a point that the board was able to get the funds, and thanks to our financiers, Jim Norris, who was our finance CFO at the time, helped us find some of the money needed to fund ROTC. We had to self-fund it at that time, and because we couldn't get any assistance from the Army or the organizations because we didn't qualify, and at that time, and so that's how ROTC started 2 years ago. Brought in Lieutenant Bolton, as well as Staff Sergeant Guy, who have done a phenomenal job um, for teaching these students and bringing them up, and just getting into the level that I didn't even see was possible. And so I give a huge shout out to them, and my time with them. I'm so happy every time I see the guard come out and present the colors and do what they need to do each time. It's just really, really cool. I love it. And one of the things that I do is that when they're at each game, if I can do it, then I actually go down and meet with those who are presenting the colors after the game, just to shake their hand, thank them for what they're doing and all. I think it's important that they recognize how important they are to not only the community, but to this board, and how much I value them in general. So I'm blessed to have them here. I'm so happy to see how successful that program was. Last year was the first inaugural year of the club. And then they had their first military banquet last year. They asked me to be the keynote speaker, which was fun.
I saw that. Yeah.
This year, Dr. Belding was their keynote speaker, and it grew so much and goes so big that they had to have it at the conference center this year, and it was full, over 300 people. So it was really, it's just been a great thing, and I could go on and on about that thing, but that program. But
that's so awesome, and
love
they
the
also
program, love the people involved.
They love, for the community, for you guys watching. They always, I believe, they take donations, and they got boosters and things to help them. They rely on that, and so you can actually donate. You could actually get involved with that and help them expand their program, because they go and they compete, even with very little that they started with. They were going to compete in drill teams and placing pretty high.
Yes,
that was just on the quick. They're getting better and better, but they do need your support. So definitely look into that, folks. Now I kind of want to move into those. If you don't have anything else, I want to kind of move into the issues.
Go ahead.
So yeah, the bad stuff. Yeah. So May 6th, there was a board meeting. And during that board meeting, during that presentation, there was talk during the presentation about the budget. There was talk that there was about $2 million that were found in savings, 1.2 million that was found. And then there was 3 different ways that you could kind of adjust. And then the total that you were in the hole was 6 million, I believe. 4 million if you took the 1.2, but there was an option to where if you did the teacher raises at I forget what percentage, if you did that and you paid for everything as it was without the VATRE, you were going to end up somewhere around 16 million. I could be wrong about the number, but it jumped up drastically. So it ended up being to where you guys fought for the teacher raises, and now you're going to put a VATRE out. I want to kind of talk about what led up to that, and then talk about what a VATRE is.
Sure. Okay, appreciate you bringing that up. And as I mentioned to you from before, it's no secret that we're having a budget crisis right now because of what's been going on. So that everybody understands how this works. Some of what we accrue and everything like that is through federal funds, and some are through state funds. And so those state funds are allocated, through, our allotments to be able to do that. And that's determined by 2 ways, because the way school finance works, it's not like your standard checking account. Okay. There's actually 2 buckets of money. You have your standard M&O account, which is your maintenance and operations, which is the state sets that rate for you, not us. Okay. And so it's a compressed rate based on a compilation that they come up with. And then they tell us, based on where you are, your enrollment, things of that nature, this is how much money, this is what your M&O rate is going to be. So we have no control of that. The other part of money is called the INS fund, which is interest in seeking, which is our bond debt and our bond capacity. Okay. And that rate can fluctuate a little bit. That's based on the board's decision on where we are. Okay. So now over the past, 6 years or so since I've been on the board, that rate has dropped by, I believe, close to 21% total between M&O and INS rates drops so substantially. Okay. So the INS rates do not affect our daily budget. Okay. The only thing that affects our daily budget is the M&O side. When last year's rate cuts, and we got about a 13-cent drop in the rate cut from the state last year, that was a direct impact on our M&O budget. Okay. So it doesn't matter what happens on the INS side, because that's our bond debt. We don't pay bills out of bond debt. With that drop and what we got, and the fact that we did not receive the state funding that we were promised that we would, that is what has created this negative budget that we're dealing with. Partly, a good portion of that. Okay. It's not the sole reason what we have such a deficit, but it is part of the reason. The other reason that we have the deficit is because we did and insisted on getting our staff raises. We didn't give one last year because we thought and hoped that the state was going to step in and give us some help when they did that to us last year when they dropped that rate. That didn't happen. And so because of that, we weren't able to offer raises. We tried to offer a supplement towards the end of the year, assuming that they would come through for us. That didn't happen. So this coming year, when we realized where we were going to be on budgets, not in just MISD, but this is at the state level. Every district in the state practically is dealing with a deficit budget. Some of them are in the multi-millions of dollars. Richardson ISD is closing down several campuses. I think 3 or 4 campuses, maybe 5 right now,
Plano
because their
2,
enrollment's down. Okay.
Fort Worth is like 3
They
or
posted
4.
something about that, I think yesterday, about the last day of school and how a lot of them were upset because it was the very last time anybody was going to be on that campus. I don't
Yeah.
ever want that to happen here. Okay. And nobody wants that to happen. So what we wanted to do was to get back on track was that we were insistent that we were going to make sure that our staff received a raise. Our teachers need it desperately. Everybody needs a raise desperately. So we had the option of a couple of different ones, a 2%, a 3%, and then the variables that went with that.
VATRE, no
Well,
VATRE, different things that came
well,
in,
this is
right?
before the VATRE. This is
Right.
before the VATRE.
Just
Okay.
numbers. Okay.
Yeah, just the numbers, right? Before the VATRE. And so we chose for option D. We had 4 options. We chose option D. Option D gave the 3% raise to teachers, a 1% raise to paraprofessionals, and 1% to custodial staff and transportation and manual trades. But we also opted for step raises for different positions where part of our balance scorecard, I need to back up. Part of our balance scorecard is that we are getting our staff people up to the grade of what the standard average are in the state. And some of these staff positions are well below where they should be. And so we are tasked as a board to make sure that these staff members are paid and getting them up to where they need to be. So this was another area where some staff were well underpaid for what the market is paying. And we wanted to make sure that they also are getting basically kind of coming up to the norm with where those things are. We're still not quite there. Okay. But we're working diligently to get everybody where they should be. And that was part of that as well. So there was another pocket of money and now that was built in that we dedicated to that. So because of all that, where everything we're dealing with, that is going to create a negative budget. Okay. Yes, there you go. You see what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So the midline right there shows you basically where we are doing good. The purple shows you those that are really struggling. The green is the average, where we are plus or minus. Those purples are where we need work, especially on at the bottom side. And those are some areas that we really wanted to try to bring back and get them back into a normal level. Thank you
So
for showing that.
your paraprofessionals are lower than the market assessment on this that you guys did.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of, as you go through it, just kind of when I pull up these things, but yeah, continue.
Right. And that helps people to understand exactly, like you're saying, helps people to understand what I was talking about specifically. We asked, and we had a board member come out and point out, can't we just basically go something, basically by profession and by area to see where we are? So we really know the areas that we can need to target to try to get them up to code for what we expect. And so that's what this culminated from. And so because of that, we're really focusing to make sure everybody, number one, gets paid appropriately, but we're really working to try to make sure that those that are way underpaid get more of the fair share of what they're supposed to be paid. And by doing it that way, that ensures us and gives us the ability of retaining the talent that we have in Midlothian ISD, because we do have one of the best school districts in the state, if not the country. And I'm very proud of that. I mean, people move here because of the schools. They could make more money elsewhere, but they want to be here. They want to teach our students. They want to call Midlothian a home. And so
Yeah.
that's what they do. And
Yeah.
so now I can't see that one because I'm on my phone. So
That's fine. No, so this is just another market adjustments to consider, and they go into how below the market is for a network system
okay,
administrator. That
okay,
16%, your child care's minus 14%, minus
yeah,
28. So they
yeah,
this I wanted to show you guys some more little bit so that you guys can see kind of what that assessment came up with.
yeah.
And
The
then
goal for us,
bottom is additional cost of 173,415 to kind of bring these people up to market
yes.
or close to it, right?
Thank you for that. And so for what we're trying to do, the goal for us is basically to get everybody within 10% of the median average. Okay, and then once we get everybody there, then we can start really trying to get to get increasing it from there. But it's baby steps to get there. We have been for years and years and years. We have just been so far off base on what our staff, teachers, and staff have been getting paid. Yet they're here year in, year out. Because they love Midlothian, they love these kids, and they want to be here. So we owe it to them to make sure that they get the money that they need to take care of their families and pay their bills, and so they can stay here and retire here and completely be a part of Midlothian ISD like I have for the last 40 plus years.
Yeah.
So, um,
Let me share
and that's
one
just one of,
more on there because it goes into what you were talking about. That with this plan D, you could see model B and D in here, folks. And what I'm showing you is you had the teachers that are going to get 3%, and that's what it was going to cost, 1.393 million, and then a 1% with floor for the professionals, manual trades, administrative professionals. That was going to be their raise. And then they talk about the raise model, how much is going to cost total, and that's 2.3. Adjustments, the market adjustments that we were talking about earlier come up to 173. And then you had a market adjustment of 2.4 million. Now, your projected budget projection without that VATRE, and we're going to go in what a VATRE is and what we're doing, that was $6 million
yes,
without the VATRE. And then and this is the important part where I want you to see too, with the VATRE and without the VATRE, this is what the deficit is. So it's minus 2 million. And there was some other funding that Dr. Belden was talking about that may come in and kind of bring that closer to zero or just a little bit above, back to balance. But 6 million without the VATRE, 2 million. So that really has an effect. That VATRE has a real serious effect on that budget. But
correct,
yeah,
100%.
so
Yes.
tell me about a VATRE. What is that?
So a VATRE is called a voter approved tax increase. Okay. And that is something that the public votes on. It's up to the voters to be able to do this. And what they are consists of are golden pennies. And golden pennies is something that the state allows us to collect in order to increase our M&O side. Okay. So for example, they took 13 cents from our M&O budget, or basically we're taking 3 cents back, more or less, okay, to increase our revenue side that we need to be able to pay the bills. But so has it happened? Well, number one, it's approved by the voters. So what does that mean? Well, that's a tax rate increase of 3 cents to the voters, okay, just for full transparency. Now, we understand that nobody wants to pay more taxes than they have to. They've already received a huge discount as it is. And so what we've done to ensure that this does not affect the voters is that we are going to drop the INS rate that we have by 3 cents. so that it is a neutral change. In other words, your taxes are not going to be affected by this change. We are honoring you up front. And in August, when we pass this, that we are going to drop our rate by the 3 cents on the budget side, excuse me, on the INS side, okay, which is our bond debt, okay, and our bond rate. In November, we are hoping that and pray that the community will in turn approve the 3 cent tax rate increase to be able to do that, to keep it level. As we mentioned, you're getting a tax rate decrease up front from us of 3 cents earlier than the voter approved tax rate will come to you in November. So we were doing this in good faith that the community will in turn help us, because without this, our teachers are going to be paid. Okay. We're making sure that happens this year. Now, hopefully the community will support MISD like they always have, and they will allow us to basically manage our debt and keep our bond and keep our debt in control. Because otherwise we will have a $6 million deficit that we have to overcome. Now, we have never been, since I've been in office, we have never had a deficit budget. We've always had an even budget. But we are in unprecedented times right now with what we're dealing with. And so we have to do what we have to do to make sure our staff are paid and taken care of, but also that help get the same community to understand what we are doing and why we are doing it. Okay. And so it's an even kill at the end of the day. Your taxes don't go up, your taxes don't go down. If we approve, once we approve the bond rate on that, as well as the VATRE on both sides, it's still even. Okay. And so that's probably the most important message that I want everybody to know about that. But we need your help. We cannot do this without the community's help to get our teachers paid without suffering a huge deficit balance budget that would take us a while to
Okay.
overcome. Well, going back to the VATRE, we talk about the VATRE. And it's been mentioned, you're asked, why don't we just use the general fund to cover all of this instead? It kind of goes back to what I said from before. Number one, there's not enough money in the general fund to offset the deficit that we have. That's number one. So it is a serious need that we are going to have moving forward in order for MISD to take care of those who take care of our children and students that attend these schools. So it's a very important topic coming up. It'll be discussed. We'll probably have a town hall on it or something like that at some point in time in the future. That vote is not until November for that. So more information will be coming. But it is something that we plan to do, and we have to do in order to be able to take care of our people. But it's not going to cost the taxpayers a dime. Okay, it's going to be an even number. And that's our commitment to the community up front. We're making that promise to you by dropping our bond rate 3% up front before that vote ever happens. So that's our commitment to the community. And so we hope that the community honors that back to us in November when we post that voter. But it's
I,
after that. I
do we,
appreciate your help.
no problem. Do we, is there a plan right now, as of right now, for a bond, a school bond to build extra schools, or is there a plan right now for that, or is that kind of in a back burner right now?
That is something that we haven't really discussed too much. We wanted Dr. Belding to kind of get in here and get his feet grounded in here before we really started bringing that up. Fortunately, our growth rate hasn't put us in a position where we just have to make that decision right this minute, because it has slowed down. We have anticipated our growth rate. In the past, it's been, between 4 and 6%. Right
This time?
now, it's about 1.5%. So that has been a benefit to us so far, and has allowed us to kind of push that can down the road a little bit, per se. So there is the possibility, with discussions coming up, that could be something we may be looking at next year for some needs that we have. But there's nothing solid on that just yet. Our focus right now is making sure that we take care of our staff. and get that out of the way first and foremost. And then we're going to reevaluate everything else that we have, the needs on that. We actually have our demographer coming out to speak with us here, I think next month, to visit with us on that and kind of give us an idea of where we are. So, and then the need. But right now, there is no active discussion coming up just yet. And
So
so,
as president, and now you're leading this, and I know Tammy was the president just prior. As board leader, you guys made a decision that you were going to pay the staff. You were going to pay the staff that 3% for the teachers. You made that decision, and that brought up that deficit. But you guys said we couldn't give it last year. We're doing it this year. But now you're in now the district is in serious waters, because I remember there was a number mentioned that with the raises and everything, it goes up a little bit even more. Without a VATRE, like let's say the VATRE doesn't pass and all those are implemented, the number goes up a little bit more. So if that number stays like that, if this stuff is not successful, are you guys gonna take the tax exemption that you have for property owners away? Are we looking at losing teachers, closing schools? What is the, I know that we try to stay positive, but what does it look like going forward? Because you have to be able to look forward. What is this looking like? Because that's a lot of money.
thank you for asking that question. And I was having a little bit of trouble hearing, so I was getting my ears close to as possible. So,
Right.
I think the first and foremost thing that I want everybody to know is that we're not letting anybody go. We're not closing schools. We're not laying off teachers. We knew, and the plan was from Dr. Belding, was that we were never going to do it that way, that we could basically offset the challenges that we needed to make with staff reduction by letting attrition do what attrition does. Attrition being those people who are going to retire and or possibly leave MISD because they're moving or something of that particular nature, or maybe just getting out of education altogether. Okay. But at the end of the day, they left our schools. Okay. And so so some of those positions, each one is evaluated as to whether or not something it can be replaced or needs to be replaced, and whether or not we need to do that. And by doing so, that is a good portion of the money that you'd mentioned, where we saved in staff reduction. Okay. So that's part of it. The other part that you mentioned is that we also the board tasked administration, central administration, and campus administrations at all the campuses that we have, that they needed to focus and they needed to reduce their budgets by 15%. I thought that might have been much. I said 10, but the board voted on 15, which I support.
Mm-hmm.
They came back and ended up being over 15%. And so when it's all said and done, I think you mentioned earlier, they said something about, well, we found $1.2 to $1.4 million in savings. Well, it went even further, and now we found somewhere around $2 million in savings. Okay. And
Okay.
I mean, and it wasn't, and I don't know what all it consists of. Okay. But I think one of them, for example, I was told, was that we went from white paper towels to brown paper towels, or something that particular nature, that
I
saved us
remember those
$100,000.
discussions. I remember those
You know,
discussions. Yeah.
right, right. So I mean, just little bitty things like that, but those dollars add up, and so my hats off to the staff at every campus, central administration, all the campus administration, all the teachers and the coaches and staff that came together, that understood it's time to tighten up our belt straps. And what can we do to do that? And because of that, we got that money back, and that helps our overall portfolio. And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
I support Midlothian. I bleed blue. Now I have to bleed a little red, because of the Jaguars
Mhm.
and all that, which I always do. I celebrate them as well. I want to give a quick shout out though before I forget this, to Midlothian Heritage Jaguars, the band boosters. They raised enough money through that booster program to buy a band trailer to haul their equipment in. That is a
Wow,
huge accomplishment. And
that
that
is.
trailer is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm really happy for them. So proud of the work they did on that board that worked to raise that and put that together. Such a fabulous job. So I'd be remiss if I did not include them in, part of what we're talking about today. So congratulations on that. But getting back to what we were talking about and what you're saying, we're not going to close a campus. We're not going to lay off any any teachers. We are where we need to be. Matter of fact, we're ahead of where we expected to be, the way they have built this. And so I'm proud of our administration for accomplishing what they accomplished. Now we're actually hiring, because now we've got some positions where we need the people to replace some positions that we lost that we do need. And so we are doing that now, during
Now,
the summertime.
what
Go ahead.
did you have to tap into fund balance this year?
No.
I know that there's always the amount that you guys keep by state mandate, but you guys always keep a little
Hmm.
more. I remember that.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
are you gonna have to tap into that to make this bridge?
No,
What's the bridge?
my hope and prayer is that we do not. As it stands right now, no. And because fund balance, as you mentioned, we're state mandated. We have to keep so much money in that account, okay, to pay our bills. And so, but I mean, we have a little bit more over that, than what's in there. But it's like a rainy day fund. I mean, if something comes up, for example, if we have an AC system that goes out in a school, that's 100,000 or more dollars easily to
Uh,
replace.
yes.
And so that's what that, and if we have 15 campuses, 14 campuses. So if that happens to all 14 campuses at one time, that's $1.4 million. Okay. So on an average, if that were to happen that way. So we have to be prepared for the worst case scenario and be able to fund whatever that's going to be. And that's where that comes from. That's more like an emergency savings account, I could say. And that's what covers some of the problems that we had. We had a couple of years ago during the freeze, we had pipelines burst in one of our schools and flooded one of the schools.
That has to be
We
taken.
have a percentage deductible that we have to make, but that deductible is still high. It's not like, a couple grand. I mean, it's quite a bit of money. And so
Mhm.
that's where this money comes from. I have heard the challenge, well, why don't we use fund balance to pay teacher salary? That's not what this is designated for. Because if we pull all that money out from our fund balance and we only have enough to pay our bills, if and when we do have an emergency like this, we will not have the money to do what needs to be done to take care of our needs. What happens if we have 4 buses go down at once? And
Okay.
we have a lot of buses. A
That
brand
makes
new
sense.
bus is $150,000 now. Okay.
Mhm.
So we have to make sure that we have money set aside for the pending catastrophe. Can't say the word catastrophes that haven't yet, that will happen. And every year, something comes up, something happens that we
Yeah.
have to cover.
So
Luckily, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Go
but
right
I
ahead.
got $1 million question. What happens next? You have a deficit. It doesn't, because you guys have to plan for this. The VATRE doesn't happen. You got the VATRE, and let's say it doesn't happen. You have the deficit goes higher. Um, and water funds don't come in, 88 funds, the way that they're supposed to. And we're going to talk a little bit about attendance. I know we want to talk about that, but um, there is those things come in. As a board, what is the plan going forward if all this doesn't happen? How do we get back to how do we get back to kind of a solvency, like a zero, back to the black?
Those are some discussions that we're going to have, once we get to that. The hope and prayer is that, the community understands and respects what we're trying to do, to get our teachers paid. our staff paid. Without that, we really don't have. We're not that far off. We're maybe about 2 million off because of what we have debt wise. And I think, like you mentioned, because of those savings that we've found in there, then we could be somewhat balanced. But that means we go a second year without a single raise to anybody in our staff, and you know we have to do the right thing by our people. And so their bills are all going up. My bills have gone up in the last 2 years. Your bills have gone up in the last 2 years. Theirs have gone up in the last 2 years. We're going to expect them to do the same work for less money, basically, because more money is going out than coming in. How are we going to continue to retain those people? If everybody else is giving raises out there in the market and we're sitting stagnant. So we have to do what is necessary to take care of our staff first and foremost. And
Yeah.
so I'm like you. I'm a financial steward of the people's money and our voters. But at the same time, I recognize that we've got to take care of our people, or they won't be here. And what are
Right.
we're going to be in a bad situation of trying to find people who want to work here, but we won't pay them. And I feel like that's going to be a really big problem moving forward if
The
that is
sad part is
ignored.
the sad part too is that their medical staff medical is going to go up. The
Yeah.
the portion that they pay, it's going up. So,
Hmm.
they you were right where it says, if there's no pay raise this year, pretty much, they're actually getting a pay cut,
Hmm.
at that point. So there is a
Yeah.
lot of
Without a raise, it's a pay cut for sure. Without a raise,
I
it's a pay cut because of their bills are going up,
yeah, it's
and we don't
it's
we don't want to do that.
um and I know you can't speak for all the board, but you are leading the board. Where are the board members at on this situation? Are you guys all on the same page about solving it? What are you guys? What are the things that guys are kind of coming up with? Are you guys all together on this?
That's one of the things that I guess I've been blessed with this team is that for the most part, we are a unified body. But overall, I believe that everybody is on the same page as far as taking care of our staff, understands that, we need to get them paid and give raises. Some people feel one way or another about what that percentage is. But at the end of the day, it's the board's majority vote that makes the decision. And that is how it is with every decision we make.
Right.
So if we have one or two that don't necessarily agree with the decision, it is what the board's majority decision is that rules. And once that rule is made, then that is the rule of the board, and the board accepts that moving forward. That is part of what we do as a board.
Right.
And
Right.
that's part of our ethics that we talk about. When we talk about our dealer pledge,
Yeah.
our board pledge, that's in our board pledge that once the board makes a decision, it is honored by the board.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a very big issue going forward. This is a very big issue going forward. There's definitely tough road ahead. It's going to be a tough road ahead, folks. You got that VATRE that's going to come to you, and I ask that you get informed about it one way or the other. I don't get into that. What I do get into is make sure that you're involved in your community, because right now is kind of it's a real tough time. And
Hmm.
these are your kids. This is your school district. This is where you pay taxes to, and it's going to affect you in one way or the other. So I hope that you guys will take a minute to look at this situation. And I mean, the last board meeting the board meeting on the 6th went into all of this. And you can hear Gary was talking about it. There was a lot of passionate talk about what should go forward and how to go forward when they finally came together in the end. And I mean, you learn a lot about the process, about how we got here, and I really suggest that you guys look that up for May 6th, and that way you can see what happened. You see it all right there in front of you. So, I'd love to have you on forever, but I've had you on, and we've been, the reason why I've gone longer, folks, is because we're talking good stuff. This affects your community and your kids. So before I kind of close out, Gary, I'm going to give you the mic. I'm going to let you talk to the people of Midlothian, the parents, and just tell them what you got to say.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, DV, thank you for what you do. You're kind of the pioneer or for what we have here. Nobody's really taken the time or the effort to be able to do this for any candidate or even board members or city council members for that matter. So thank you for the efforts that you do. You are the man, and we greatly appreciate you. I know it's an undeserved role, kind of like what we do, but greatly appreciate you.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank
for the citizens of Midlothian, again, thank you for the support you have shown me for my time being on the board. I want you to know that we believe in the MISD and we are family at MISD, and we take care of our family. And sometimes that comes with some hard things and hard decisions that we have to make. And that's where we are right now. And I'm hoping and praying that you guys believe in Midlothian ISD like I do and like we do. And the fact that we can get in there and take care of the people that work in our teach our children and coach our children and love our children every day. And so they're not here to get a paycheck. They're here because they're making a difference in your children's lives. But we need to make sure that they're taken care of. We want them to stay here. So please get on board with us. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me or another board member about it. But we love all of our students, our staff members. We want to make sure everybody's taken care of. And at the end of the day, again, we are MISD, we are family, and I will preach that as long as the day is.
Well, thank you so much for coming on again to my show. I really appreciate the kind words. It is a labor of love. There are others that are getting into it, and God bless them. I love it. I love that people are wanting to get more involved and get this information out, because I'm all about information. I love information. As long as I believe that, as long as people are informed, they're going to make the right decisions.
Right.
And
Right.
and that's kind of where I fall. I try
Yeah.
not to decide on it. I just fall on it.